started with BRP in 2010, straight out of university. My family's been working with the OMC and Evinrude BRP brands since the 70s, so I'm the third generation of my family to be here, so bound for me or my brother to end up here at one point. Started in customer service. I was an Evinrude sales rep for a while, and then recently I was the product strategy manager for the Manitou pontoon that you see here behind me. Once we got that off the ground, they were looking for some new opportunities, and I landed in Australia about 11 months ago.
Let's just talk pontoon boats for a minute, because it's just become a booming market segment in the US. So can you just tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so pontoons are one of the fastest growing segments outside of PWC in the US and Canada, and they are currently the largest segment of recreational boats, again, outside of PWC that we see in that entire category. So you've got over 100 players in the US, but you really see about 20 that are top tier. Manitou sits in that top 20. Brand's been around for over 30 years. It was acquired by BRP in 2018. And what you see behind me is the pinnacle of their engineering. So they took what was really good, predominantly the hull, and then they redesigned from the deck up from a white sheet of paper and introduced the new Explorer series and our Cruise model, which is our entry-level product, about 2 years ago in August. So they still are barbecue boats. I mean, it's still the perfect platform to take yourself and 10 of your mates around, whether it's the lake or the Broadwater, anywhere in between. But particularly with Manitou and BRP, we started with a patented hull design. So it's called the V-Tune technology. Our center tube is larger than the outer tubes, and it's mounted lower. So you get that proper V-hull shape. It drives like a boat, it feels like a boat. And then it's got more horsepower too. So this one has 150 horsepower Rotax S outboard on the back. But you can go anywhere from 60 up to, we do twin 300s on some of our models, and anything in between. So you can really do everything or anything that you want on a pontoon boat that you used to have a ski boat, a fishing boat, and a slow wine drinking pontoon boat. It's everything for everybody. It's been hovering around 60,000 plus units in the US and roughly 10% of that in Canada. So let's say between 65, 70,000 total in North America, US and Canada. We started to see roughly 200 to 300 units a year in Australia back a couple years ago when we did the research. But if you look at just this show alone here at Sanctuary Cove, I've seen at least 5 different brands, 3 from the US plus a few locals. It's really starting to captivate the audience here because we have a lot of day boaters here on the Broadwater in particular. You run back to your pontoon, you tie it up and you go home, but you've got all the space you need, more people, more power, perfect for the bit of rough water you might see. I really think it's going to be something that continues to take off here in Australia for sure.
What separates this particular Manitou model apart in terms of the R&D that you put into it and where it sits in the market?
So we go off of 5 things really. So it starts with the walls. So the walls are a pressed aluminum sheet, something you see typically only in luxury automotive instead of a fence and rail sort of system. So we shape them, we hide all the rigging behind it so it's all above the water, but you get that really sort of modern supercar-esque type of feel to it. At the helm, we redesigned and re-engineered the entire helm. We've got an integrated Garmin system. We're the only ones really doing that standard in the US, so we're bringing that to the Australian market as well. Standards, fusion stereo, upgraded steering wheel. The Rotax S that I'll touch on in a minute, that allows you to have power steering, fly-by-wire shift and throttle. Also, the Bimini. So it's the fastest speed rated Bimini in its class in the US. In miles per hour, it's rated for 55. It's got that really nice forward angle to it. It follows the graphics that you guys will see on the boat too. What that does is this boat tops out around 38 miles an hour, so in your mid 50s in Ks, but you never have to close the shade while you're out running all day. We're one of the only ones that I've seen in this category that will allow you to keep your sunshade up all day. And then of course, it's the Rotax S and the Max Deck. So the Rotax S is a 3-cylinder, 1.8 liter, 150 horsepower direct injected outboard, and we've laid the power head horizontal. What that does is it allows us to put a 4-foot long, 8.5 foot wide Max Deck over the top. So you get all of that space where your freshwater flush and your oil fill are, as well as your ski pole, and a Link, which is a BRP brand of accessory attachment spot for your cooler. And you get all that space over the top of the engine. So it maximizes your reach in the back with giving you the full benefits of the outboard with everything mounted outside of the boat, no space taken up on the inside. It's a complete bow to stern transformation for us. The Rotax S150, it's the world's first outboard featuring stealth technology. And the stealth technology really is our ability to lay the powerhead horizontal, 3 cylinders in line versus vertical on a typical outboard. We run it down to a standard outboard gear case and propeller. It allows us to keep all of that space that would typically sit above the transom open and allows us to fit the max deck on it. So what this does too is allows this engine to trim completely out of the water. You'll get your full range of trim when you're running, and then when you get into the tilt range to store it or to trailer it, this lid would flow with the engine in the center here and pick it up. So it allows you to get the prop completely out of the water when you're storing it at your pontoon or putting it up on your trailer as well. With the motor in about its neutral position, you'd be slightly over 50 centimeters, but if you trimmed it up to its bare minimum, you'd be right around 45 centimeters of draft. So you can get to pretty much any beach area you'd want to. On the starboard side rear, we've got our integrated ladder. So you've still got full access to and from the water. You'll see a molded hand grip on the top, helps you get in and out. And again, on the port side here in the rear is where we have the link attachment point for our link coolers and other accessories that fit within that bracket system. It's standard on almost all of our Sea-Doo PWCs. So if you have those accessories already, you can bring them onto your new Manitou as well.